Alpha seed and beta need are the two general categories that women are going to place you in. And the difference between the two, the alpha seed and the beta need, the genetic combination, the genetic material, the DNA, the sperm from the alpha, and the resources, the money, the protection, the security from the beta. And I use these terms alpha and beta not just in this video, but in all my content, in a static sense. There is no one set alpha male, there is no one set beta male. Now there are alphas and there are betas, but it's static, it's circumstantial, it depends on the timing and the perspective of certain individuals, because a guy can be alpha in one sense to one woman and then beta in one sense to another woman, depending. It's like if a guy makes six figures and he's in a room full of minimum wage workers, he could be considered alpha, but then he goes into a room of billionaires and he could be considered beta. So it's static. There is no one guy who's the ultimate alpha. There's no one guy that's just like the ultimate beta. It depends on what we're talking about. There are general determinations of alpha, like jawline and height and bone structure, charisma. There are certain characteristics that are generally universal alpha, but even then that's static. Like the guy that's 6 foot and the jawline, the bone structure, the genetics, is the 6'4" guy with the same genetics, is he more alpha? But what if the 6'4" guy is working at Walmart, and what if the 6 foot guy owns a business? So does his career offset the extra 4 inches in the mind of another woman? So it depends on what we're talking about. So when I use these terms alpha and beta, it's not like a category like you are just an alpha or you are just a beta as a man. But you have to understand that any woman can place you as alpha or beta in her mind, and you just got to understand the two main categories of alpha and beta: the alpha seed, the beta need. The alpha seed in terms of the sperm, the DNA, the genetic combination for making a child, and the beta need, the security, the money, the resources, the protection. So a woman's going to place you in these two categories in general. That's when you're interacting with women, that's generally what she's going to be looking for. It's either the alpha seed or the beta need, or maybe she gets both. Maybe she gets the guy that she thinks is alpha for the seed and he's also the provider, or maybe it's part of one, or whatever. But those are the two general categories that you're going to be placed in as a man in the eyes of certain women. So understanding this red pill knowledge is very crucial, because it'll save you a lot of mistakes down the road. And you have to understand your place with a woman at a given time. The alpha seed versus the beta need, that's just generally how it's going to go. And when we're talking about red pill knowledge, a lot of times guys get confused with this type of information, or there's backlash to it, or women don't understand it too, or they have a negative reaction because it exposes certain truths that a lot of people kind of know are there, but they just don't talk about. Like the woman doesn't want to be seen as shallow if she says that the 6'4" guy, she perceives him differently than like the 5'4" guy. Like the woman doesn't want to be perceived as shallow, so she says, oh, well, no, his height doesn't matter. But I mean, we don't see her dating the 5'4" guy when she's like 5'7" herself. You know, I mean, it can happen. There's outliers. There's always outliers. So even not just my content or anyone's content, when we're stating an opinion or a perspective, it's not just like this is the thing, this is the absolute truth, because someone will always comment, well, what about this? Well, sure, there's always outliers, things can change, there's always the one exception to the rule, but in general, certain things are pretty constant, like the alpha seed and the beta need. The woman's looking to pass on good genes to the offspring, so she wants a guy with good genetics, good facial features, bone structure, height, a job, money, charisma, sexual attraction, all of that. So like the alpha seed, the genetic material to have the healthy, good-looking, genetically superior offspring, and then the beta need, where it could be the guy that is the provider, the husband, the guy with the money, the guy that takes care of her, the guy that's going to commit long term. And so ideally a lot of women are going to look for both, but sometimes it takes the form of she only gets one or the other. So she'll sleep with the alpha, and then she'll settle down with the beta. And a lot of times guys that they go through their whole lives and maybe they don't have much experience with women, or they don't have a lot of women that are attracted to them, they come across this one woman at like age 25 or 30 or something that's attracted to them or showing them interest, and so they run with it and they think they're falling in love, or they think that that's the one or something, and so they end up marrying the girl, not realizing that they could be seen as the beta provider. Like they aren't the first choice. They are the provisioner. They're the savior. They're the person at the end of her party years or the end of her peak fertility, where she needs to settle down, find something more secure, more long term, and then they end up being the beta provider, and that leads to a lot of other problems in the relationship or the marriage, depending on how the two of them play that. So you just got to be careful. Like anything, nothing's guaranteed whenever you're dealing with women. Everything's going to be up in the air depending on how you're perceived. She could always leave at any time. Even if she's with you and she's attracted to you, her biology doesn't just shut off. Like, she's going to be attracted to other guys too, and that goes with guys too. Like when a guy's with a girl, it's not just like, even that if that's his wife or his girlfriend or whatever, his biology doesn't shut off. He's going to find other women attractive. So it's just being aware, having understanding so that you don't get screwed over in the long term. But it's going to be alpha seed versus beta need, and that's how you're generally going to be categorized. So when you understand this red pill knowledge, you're able to see it. When you have some self reflection and some introspection on yourself, you can kind of take these concepts a little bit more objectively and not take things so personally. Like, look at yourself like, okay, what is my race? What is my height? What is my genetics? How much money do I make? What is my social standing in a certain situation? Just really be honest about that stuff. It's going to save a lot of problems down the road if you're just honest with who you are. Like, I could meet a girl right now as a mixed race guy that maybe she's white and she's just used to like a white community and white guys, white people, and so just something about me being mixed is just it's just doesn't sit well with her, and that can happen. I mean, people have racial preferences when it comes to their sexual attraction, and you can't take it personally. Like, if a girl just like, oh, I don't like black guys, or on the flip side, she's a black girl, I don't like white guys, and I'm like right in the middle. So like maybe I'm like too black for the white girl, or too white for the black girl, or like not black enough for the black girl, not white enough for the white girl. Whatever that is, you can't take it personally. It's not racist. It's not any of that. It's just what it is. People are going to have their genetic preferences, their racial preferences, looks preferences, career preferences. A girl in general is going to like a guy that has a job as opposed to a guy that's unemployed and homeless. I mean, that's just a reality. That's a red pill truth. If you can't provide anything, she's going to look for a guy that can provide something, whether that's the alpha seed, the alpha that she's sexually attracted to, the seed, the genetic combination, or the beta need, the resources, the money, the security. It's going to be one of those two categories. So understanding this red pill knowledge is very key to understanding women, understanding yourself, and just living a more fulfilling life. Because when you're not operating from truth, you're going to get screwed over in a lot of situations when you're not operating in truth about yourself and about other people. So it's good to understand human nature. It's good to understand female nature, female hypergamy. It doesn't make women bad. It doesn't make them good. It's just reality. It just is what it is. If you look at human history back hundreds or thousands of years ago, there's a need for protection. Like, there's a need to be around people that know how to survive and get to the next day and are physically capable to get up and move and go get resources. So those primitive biological realities are still present today. Just because we have running water, just because we can create cell phones, just because we can pave cement, doesn't get rid of the biology from us. So like, she's gonna look for the genetic superiority. She's gonna look for like the tall guy, or the guy with the good facial features, the bone structure, the jawline, the good job, the ability to make money, the ability to go out and be of high social status in a room of people, the ability to climb up the ladder. Like, those aspects are still here in modern society. Just because we have TVs and phones, we think it's like this more sophisticated world, but biology is still there. So understand some biological realities of this, the alpha seed versus the beta need. When you understand where you fall in line with those, it's easier to see your place with women and just with people in general. And like I said, alpha and beta, they're static terms. It's not like one guy's an ultimate alpha. It's not like one guy's an ultimate beta. A guy can go to college and join a frat, and so in that community of his peers that they're all the same age and their parents are paying for their college and they haven't really done anything in the world, he might believe at that frat that he's alpha because he's with like sorority girls. And then he goes out into the world at 22 when he graduates from college. He goes out onto the street. He suddenly has this change of demeanor, and his ego might get blown a little bit because he starts to realize that a woman on the street that he's meeting for the first time versus a woman in that college setting that just sees the frat, or that their parents are taking care of everything. So like the context is different. So at one point in time, he might think he's alpha based on his dealings with women in that college, in that fraternity, in that sorority. Then he goes out into the world on the street where nobody cares about the school, nobody cares about those dynamics, and he suddenly learns he can be beta. And it's static, and you got to understand that. Like the bodybuilder, he can, you think like a 6'5" bodybuilder, he can be insecure in another way. Maybe he can't keep a job, or maybe he sees the 5'5" guy that owns a business, and he's 6'5" and a bodybuilder, but he suddenly feels like, well, how come I don't have a business? And then there comes in that jealousy thing, and you got to question that, because if you're being jealous of another guy, are you really alpha? And so it's very static. It's depending on what you think the goal is, what you think the point is. Because like what is the point? What is the goal? Everyone's going to disagree on the point of what we're doing, or the point of life, or the objective. So that's why these terms are very static. Nobody is just a solid 100% alpha. Nobody's just solid 100% beta. It's static, but you have to take this red pill knowledge and apply it to yourself in certain situations. You got to know yourself in certain situations. Like if I'm in a plane and the plane's going down, it doesn't matter what I do in life, or what another guy does in life, or who we think we are. We need the guy that knows how to fly the plane. That's who we need in that situation to get the plane, going, so that we're not crashing. If someone needs an operation, you want the guy that went to medical school. If someone is just like wants to eat food and have a good meal, you want like the chef, or the guy that knows how to cook a good meal. So like these alpha and beta terms, they're very static and they're ever changing. So it depends on what you think the point is, what the other person thinks the point is. So again, it's not to say that one guy is just an alpha or one guy is just a beta. They're just placeholder terms for what we're talking about in the general sense. So yes, there's the jawline, there's the height, there's the bone structure, which are universal alpha characteristics, but even within those characteristics, it's very static because there's other stuff going on in the world. So just understand this red pill knowledge. It's going to be alpha seed versus beta need when it comes to how a woman is going to categorize you.